The big difference for the iPhone 16 series is a new button, which sounds underwhelming, but again, as is usually the case at an Apple event, I find myself way more impressed than I really needed to be, especially because I've gotten hands-on with this thing. Now that I've been able to touch and caress this faux button, I've been able to actually get a feel for how it mimics the feeling of being pressed down. And for real though, it actually feels for real. Yeah, for real. So just as a quick TLDR, the new iPhone 16 and 16 Pro phones will have a new camera control feature, which is basically a sensor along the right edge towards the bottom of the phone. And pushing down on this will bring up the camera app and allow you to control your camera in a lot of different ways. This, to be clear, is not a real button that moves up and down. It's just the sensation is mimicked by a combination of things like the haptic engine to create some haptic feedback. So you're supposed to be able to do at least two different types of presses on the camera control button. One is a sort of a lighter press and one is a more forceful push. These do different things. So when you are in the camera app already, sort of a light tap in later months or later in the year will help you lock focus or basically focus on your subject. But right now, it pulls up this sub menu in a sort of dial that goes through 6 options. So you can either choose from focus or exposure or modes or tones, and then pressing down one more time on each of these selects them as what you're going to control next. Basically like how toggles and dials on a DSLR camera works. I was able to spend a lot of time with this feature, going into each of them, switching between cameras in the camera mode, for example, swiping my hand on the sensor to go in and out. Now, I did find the direction in which the wheel moves for the zoom levels a little counterintuitive, but I am also one of those people who, when gaming, needs to switch up the controller direction when I'm navigating, so I need to tilt up to look down, for example. So if you're like me, you might not like the way this direction is set up, but if not, and I think most people are not, then you should be fine. Now, the crucial thing here is that you won't be able to flip the direction of the way the camera control dial works. However, you will be able to tweak the sensitivity of the force sensor here. So that is nice. I was also able to just briefly check out some of the new photographic styles, which you can also switch at the swipe of a finger with the new camera control by just going into the second to last option called styles. And then within each of these, you can also press a new button at the top right to edit them to your heart's content. So you can pull up this little square touchpad-y sort of interface and then drag a little circle around all 4 corners to change things like the color temperature or brightness and contrast. You can also edit photographic styles after the fact now, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about the way things look before a shot too much. One thing I did notice is that when I held up the phone to use camera control to take a selfie, I did find my thumb reached a little higher than the camera control button was on an iPhone 16 Pro Max. So that positioning feels a little less intuitive, but I did manage to quickly adjust and get a picture taken in no time at all. There are also a lot of other camera upgrades, specifically in the video and the video editing features, things like the new studio mics enabling a different studio mix for the audio parts of your video, as well as support for 4K 120p slow-mo. A lot to dig into here that I just didn't get the time to do at the hands-on event. I did quickly check out an iPhone 16 Pro Max and an iPhone 15 Pro Max side by side to see just how much larger the display is. The dimensions here, they're just minimally changed, but thanks to shaved down borders and bezels, the iPhone 16 Pro Max isn't at all larger than the 15 Pro Max, and yet the display does feel roomier. The entire feeling of the device did seem sleeker because it's more all-screen than it ever has been. So I really got the sense I was picking up a slightly newer phone, at least from the front. There's more, like I said, to dig into, like how the A18 Bionic chip affects the performance, whether the battery life is seriously drastically improved, but all these things we might have to wait a little longer to find out more about. I'm also very stoked for the new voice memo feature, but again, stay tuned to Engadget for our detailed coverage as we spend more time here at Apple Park, as well as with the new Apple devices later this week and month. So make sure you come back and subscribe.